What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time. And in this case, in regards to this video, in regards to the last 5 years, my job, sometimes my family time, sometimes my overall health when you talk about mental, sometimes my livelihood in general, so you don't have to. And I mean that in conflation with the fact that AEW is 3 weeks away, actually I think 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks away from their 5-year anniversary since first being televised. Double or Nothing 2019 will mark 5 years since AEW was shown on camera, right? What have they done in these past 5 years? May I ask you guys? Because I tried my best to look through each year to try to pull out the positives, right? Because unfortunately, I have this reputation, whether you look on certain forums, whether people made videos about it, whether some people commented it in the comment section. I have this horrible, I personally think it's horrible, reputation that I'm an AEW hater. I actually much prefer just being called a wrestling hater in general, because I feel that's more closer to the truth than just simply calling me an AEW hater, because I've given AEW chance after chance after chance after chance after chance to change their ways, but I feel like they're just being run roughshod. And I mean the AEW brand as a whole. I'm not talking about the people involved within the AEW business backstage, because that's who I feel is harming it. You know, they're being held hostage by their fans. They're being held hostage by Tony Khan's mentality. They're being held by Tony Khan's mentality given to him by Dave Meltzer's mentality. And it just won't reach its fullest expectation. There are so many things that AEW has within it in order to legitimately make professional wrestling fun again. Instead, it's just triumph, inevitably met with tragedy, inevitably met with destruction, and inevitably met with anger. I can only speak for myself, obviously, but I would like to turn to the numbers and show you guys here, look at the thumbnail. You can see the thumbnail for yourself right here in the video. That's just not me. I'm speaking for myself currently at the moment, but I think it's a good representation of how people feel about AEW as a whole. It's catered to one group. And even what it's catered to in regards to the group that it's catering to, the group in itself does not necessarily care for AEW. See, I'm going to bring up previous talking points over the years inside this one video. A big, huge, man, almost like a manifesto of some sorts, you know? So you're going to hear previous talking points, but let's just get the ball rolling right now. 5 years of AEW. Can you tell me any legitimate positive that have come? Because I can't even say that. Because I wanted to say something that came out of the last 5 years. But the thing is, they have had moments. You see, that's what I mean when people call me an AEW hater. I can highlight the positives. They have had moments. Whether you look at, for an example, Jon Moxley debuting, taking out Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing, right? The debut of Dynamite hitting 1.4 million views, almost on par with an average Raw episode, right? The return of CM Punk to wrestling. Huge debut, one of the best debuts in the history of professional wrestling. Arguably one of their best pay-per-views ever, if not their best pay-per-view ever, All In 2021. CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. You can argue Adam Cole, that's your perspective if you will, but that was the pinnacle of AEW. 1.3 million views that same week as to the fallout of All In. Sitting on cloud 9. Right? You follow that up throughout the years and you ask yourselves, what have they done to capitalize on any of that peak momentum that came out of arguably their best year of all time in 2021? Because I can make a comparison to you guys, and I can say that when going into 1998, when messing with WWE, arguably their most important year of all time. You know how they capitalize on their momentum? By bringing in Mike Tyson and peaking that momentum. By coinciding Mike Tyson with Stone Cold Steve Austin, by establishing Austin as the poster child for their company. By using previous draws before Austin became who he happened to be going throughout 1998, putting them in the mid-card and having them establish other talents. Looking at stables like D-Generation X or the Nation of Domination, for an example. And to just consistently using your talent in order to put over other talent, in order to put over other talent, in order to put over other talent. It strengthened the roster. It established the identity of WWE, WWF at the time, obviously. And more importantly, it made everybody relatable to the audience. When I look at AEW, I ask myself, who's the poster child of AEW currently at the moment? Honestly, currently over the past 5 years. Is it MJF? Is it the Elite, more in particular Kenny Omega? Is it currently at the moment Swerve Strickland? Was it at any point CM Punk or Bryan Danielson? Was it Cody Rhodes at one point? You see, there's so many mixed signals going in within AEW over the past 5 years that I can just never get a straight answer when it comes to anything in regards to the product. You know, anytime I look at the product in itself, it's like it's having a hard time trying to find its own identity, right? So you know the main identity that actually comes out of AEW that strengthens the company as far as the core is considered with the rest of its fan base? That'd be the wrestling in itself. But the problem with that, and why I never really necessarily call that a strong identity, is because it's in the name. Pro wrestling is in the name of AEW. It's in the name of WWE. It's in the name of New Japan. It's in the name of countless amounts of wrestling companies. We know that wrestling is the identity of wrestling. So what is the point of accentuating those points? It's like looking at a musical artist and then someone asks them what are they good at in regards to playing their music, and then they respond with whatever instrument that they're currently using at the moment. No. They mean, what are you doing in regards to your sound? They mean, what are you talking about in regards to the thematic portions of whatever lyrical content you want to put within your songs in itself. You know, it's like the Dave Meltzer article we read yesterday when he talked about the ratings and the viewership numbers, and it was such a weird answer to say the problem with AEW's viewership numbers is that it keeps going down in the 18 to 34 demographic, rather than actually talking about the reasons as to why they went down. You see what I mean? You can't use the identity of wrestling to make your identity. That just can't be the case, especially in today's time where political correctness has completely had a stranglehold on professional wrestling, and your whole entire point is to use this in order to not have to be risque. And the risque portion that you will have to use in order to get your company into a position where people will notice it is what you're ignoring, in spite of the wrestling in itself. You see, that's been the story of AEW over the past 5 years. It's never really taken any chances. They may think that they're taking chances with the blood, with the steel chair shots to the head sometimes, with the swearing and cursing, but that's not taking a chance. That's just you being edgy for the sake of being edgy without any reasoning as to why you're being edgy. You know, I look at that no different than someone taking a centrist position. You're not saying anything. I can understand you being an independent person, but it's like the retarded centrist saying both parties are fucking terrible. No, that just tells me you don't know shit about politics, and in reality, you don't want to just take a position on anything because you don't want to look like a fucking idiot in front of anybody. So you come with the 9/11 buildings fall down. Both parties are fucking terrible. They don't know how to do anything right. It's highlight me some points so we could take the party into a direction, either party, and maybe we can find a central point where both parties can have specific points that everybody agrees with, and that in itself could be the party, a new party. That's how I look at AEW. Have a reason as to why the blood and the swearing matters to the story that you're trying to tell. The tools of the blood and the swearing is what you need in order to tell an appropriate story, because without the blood and without the swearing, it just doesn't highlight the vitriol. It doesn't highlight the disdain from each competitor or competitors within the story that you're trying to tell. But it's just doing it for the sake of doing it, and that's what fucking kills me about AEW over the past 5 years, and how many people take up for this company and enable it and tell it that what it's doing is a good thing, because simply going out there and having 5-star matches on every television show, completely negating the pay-per-view in itself, as far as the pay-per-view needing that climax of the story being told, not even sometimes the outright conclusion, but the climax in order to progress to the next shows as a cliffhanger going into the next pay-per-view to inevitably hopefully get the conclusion and get what your money is usually paid for. We never get that. We never get that. It's a continuation and a continuation and a continuation, and then abruptly ends. Case in point, something like Christian and Edge, for an example. A match that's been built up since October. To be blown off randomly on an episode of Dynamite mere weeks before Dynasty. Does that make any sense to anybody? Anybody? No, of course it doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense to those who have a predetermined agenda as to why they like AEW to begin with. Looking at the wrestlers themselves, there's a pattern that I notice when talking about AEW in regards to how they cultivate their audience, as far as how they cultivate any type of viewership, any type of semblance of excitement. And that's to bring in former WWE talent. It can never be anything based off of what the company in itself has provided creatively. No, we got big plans. What are those big plans? To bring in another WWE superstar. And that WWE superstar, oh boy, we're going to use them to the fullest extent of their abilities by having them cutting promo after promo after fucking promo after promo after promo, thinking you're building excitement for a wrestler to just happen to wrestle on a pay-per-view, to not wrestle on a television show for the next month, and you showing them in one segment for 2 minutes, thinking that you're getting the most out of that superstar by doing the whole less is more. The less is more only works when the less is exciting. And it seems like they don't understand that either. 5 years. 5 years of this disappointment. 5 years of telling us that we're going to get something special, and instead we get a fart. 5 years of that. You look at talent that actually had promise. You look at talent and you say to yourself, wow, they actually have a good thing going at the moment. They can be the face of AEW if you play your cards right. Someone like a Warlow, for an example. Super over talent. You went the extra mile to get him over. You used MJF to put him into a position where, god damn it, he could be the next Goldberg. He could be the next Batista. Hell, maybe if he plays his cards right, maybe he could be the next John Cena, because it's not as if he hasn't shown that he doesn't have promo ability. Instead, we go with the tried and true formula when talking about our wrestling fan base. More fucking wrestling. More fucking wrestling. more of the Dave Meltzer mentality, stupid bullshit wrestling. And what do? You fuck up, you ruin, you destroy, you annihilate. Honestly, you create more abysmal fucking controversy within your company, because the only thing that seems like it gets over within your company from an original standpoint is backstage bullshit. Backstage bullshit that you cultivated, that you created for no reason whatsoever, when you have talent as fucking good, as opposing, as good looking. Pause. But you know what I mean from a wrestling standpoint, aesthetically, optically, like a Wardlow. You take him and you put him on a back burner to have the next 10th 5-star fucking match on television the same night usually. Nothing different. Status quo. Your WWE turned to 10, but you think you're fucking doing something special when all you fucking do is ruin talent. You don't understand professional wrestling to save your soul. You're a fucking simulation fucking business owner. That's what you are. You're a simulation business owner. You're a fucking E-Fed general manager, Tony. And that's all you ever will be. But I think the biggest egregious, because this is my opinion, obviously, I can't talk to anybody. All I can tell you to do is look at the numbers and see the decline. For me, the biggest egregious act when talking about AEW and the disappointment and the shame that is brought to professional wrestling by not legitimately being a competitor to WWE when you had all the tools right there for you to use, because you'll never get back to that point. That 1.4 million, you won't. Not with this mentality. You will never get back to that point ever again. You'll be lucky if you even see 800,000 ever again with the route that you're currently taking at the moment. You will inevitably be TNA, and that's the sad fucking part. And that's the part that is the most egregious about the 5 years of AEW. It's the fact that you did not hold on to your promise. You did not keep your word. You said that you were going to change the pro wrestling business forever. You did not change a motherfucking thing. Everything is still the same. You go back to 2019 AEW and you were to take that episode and then just force it right onto today's climate, today's timeline, whatever the case may be, and then go into the next week's AEW, you wouldn't skip a fucking beat. You wouldn't even know that it was 5 years ago that this match happened, that this show took place, that all this stuff happened. You wouldn't have even noticed it. And the sad part about it is, we all know what the game is. We all know what all the wrestlers and all the fans, we all know how this plays out. We all know that the wrestlers from the WWE perspective who are currently going to AEW, this is just an easy payday for them. This is just them going into, honestly, the prequel to their retirement fucking homes, making oodles upon oodles of fucking money on their names without having to legitimately have to do anything, without any rules or restrictions to put them in place. And then you have the young talent who want to goof around, act like fucking retards, really just taking advantage of AEW versus WWE actually having rules and restrictions and what they can abide by in order to accentuate their matches, accentuate their characters, honestly help out their own bodies. People say that's boring wrestling. It's only boring because AEW has brought it up to a point where every fucking match has to be peak athleticism, when in reality we're watching television. We should be seeing stories, and the peak athleticism should be happening on the pay-per-views. It's not to say that we should be getting boring matches, but it's to be training your audience to at least expect a halfway decent match, one match on a card, while legitimately having stories and characters play throughout the entire card to give you a reason to see the accentuated points of whatever match you want to look at going into the pay-per-view in itself. And that's been going on for 5 years. Honestly, there are wrestling fans who can't even look at wrestling in fucking 2015, 2014, 2013, a mere 10 years ago. People can't go back pre-2019 in some cases to watch wrestling matches without saying, oh, this is really, really fucking boring because of what AEW has done to professional wrestling. You say that it's helped professional wrestling. I said it's worse than professional wrestling. It has not made it better, right? All it did was give people an entitled mentality. Seriously, if I look at AEW, if I had to think of anything metaphorically comparable to AEW, it's the state of America right now. It's the state of America to let all these kids, all these teenagers believe that they are the best, that they have the correct mindset to forward America, to progress America with their stupid fucking unintelligent fucking opinions about how the world legitimately should work. They think everything should be curtailed to their feelings. Everything that should happen in the world today should be based off of how they fucking feel, not how things objectively work in the real world, but strictly how we feel. How do we make ourselves happy? Never mind what that means, how detrimental that could be to that person, how detrimental that could be to that business, how detrimental that could be to that fucking image. You actually believe wholeheartedly that whatever curtails to the individual should happen. And we need to do that to each individual. That can't happen. And even if it could happen, it's nothing more than dividing. And when you divide multiple people, you get multiple criticisms. All you had to do was be a pro wrestling company. Not a New Japan pro wrestling company. Not a fucking indie backyard fucking stupid ass power drivers through tables with thumbtacks and fire. No. All you had to be was pro wrestling. And you can't do that. You haven't done that within the last 5 years. You haven't done anything. And that's what kills me the most. That's what makes all this the most pitiful, is that you haven't done anything to progress professional wrestling. The same lame fucking stars in the same lame position they were in previously. The same dumb dick ideology that you have not yet changed at all for the better. The only thing that has changed from the beginning to now is your viewership numbers and the falling off of the cliff of even your most dieharded fans. You have dropped literally half. That is no fucking fucking hyperbole. There is no going out of your way to exaggerate. Look at the numbers, for the love of God. It's right there in the thumbnail in the video. They started at 1.4 and they're as low as 700,000 viewers. In some cases, 600,000 viewers. And the fans, they make excuses for this shit all the fucking time, and they enable the stupid fucking classless behavior when talking about professional wrestling. No one gets over, no one has any favorites, no one has a reasoning. You have your own fucking your fucking advice guy giver, fucking Dave Meltzer, outright saying that people are thinking that some of your fucking shows are skippable, and you still have the audacity to pretend that you're instilling change in professional wrestling. You can't tell me one goddamn good thing in the last 5 years that's occurred to AEW to save your fucking soul, but I can name you a shit ton of negative things that has put this company into a position where right now it's inevitably going to be irrelevant in the next 5 years or so. You have killed the wrestling company faster than a startup and some backyard stupid hooligan goddamn mud show ring. You done that. Your wrestling fans have done that. Even the ones who probably say to themselves that AEW is better have now left the fucking train. They have left whatever analogy you want to put out there in front of you. They no longer exist. Because like I said, it's not about loving AEW. It's about hating WWE. And you can't even get that right. You can't even do that right. It's such a damn shame. It's frustrating, really. It's frustrating. This is the equivalent of looking at a girl who had it all in high school. 17 years old, scholarships, beauty, prom queen. Could have been big. Could have been a person to really change and still change in this world. And then she went to a party right before her graduation. And just one time, just one stupid fucking decision, like snorting that one drug, smoking that one drug and ingesting that one drug has now got her hooked. And now she's 48. She's addicted to meth. Her hair's gone. Her kids are somewhere in some fucking system. She's skinny as shit. She probably has cancer for how much drugs she's been fucking doing. Maybe has AIDS because of what she had to do in order to get those drugs. And you wouldn't even believe what the before picture was while you're looking at the after. That's AEW. And the sad part is, just the same as the person who had all the potential in the world to be a somebody in this world, no one stopped them. They just enabled it. Why? Not because of any real reasons, not because they could save them from themselves, but because of other ulterior motives. Because everybody involved in this, they're all cowards. No one wants to stand up and actually help out AEW. No one wants to legitimately give them criticisms to help legitimately boost up the company. It's just meaningless words. Meaningless words and whataboutisms. Here's to another 5 years of AEW. Say what you will. I hope they survive. Say what you will. I want them to do better. There's a big difference between wanting and actually happening. Here's to 5 more years. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces. P. Ice.